Welcome to the Explainer. You know, the United Nations can feel like this huge, complicated maze, right? But at its heart, it's actually built around a surprisingly simple design. Today, we're going to take a tour of that very core structure, its 6 main organs.
So pretty much everything at the UN, its whole operational design, it all comes down to this one number, 6. That's it. These are its 6 principal organs, the absolute foundational pillars that were set up way back in 1945 when the UN Charter was first signed.
And this is the whole reason those 6 organs even exist. This right here is the mission statement, the North Star for basically everything the UN does. And look, it's a huge, ambitious goal, right? So you can think of this 6-part structure as the machine they built to try and make it happen. All right, let's get into it. Okay, so our first stop on the tour, we're heading straight for the UN's most visible parts. Yeah, the ones you probably see on the news all the time. This is really the political heart of the whole organization.
So first up, we have the General Assembly. Honestly, the easiest way to picture this is like a global town hall meeting. I mean, it's literally the one place where every single one of the 193 member countries, doesn't matter if they're huge or tiny, gets a seat at the table and a voice to talk about the biggest challenges we're all facing.
Okay, so if the General Assembly is that big town hall, then think of the Security Council as the world's emergency response team. This is a much smaller group, and they have a very specific, very powerful job, keeping the peace. And here's the key difference. Unlike the General Assembly, when the Security Council makes a decision, it's not just a recommendation. It is legally binding on all UN members. That's a huge deal.
And this slide just lays out that fundamental difference perfectly. The General Assembly, that's all about breadth, right? You've got everybody in the room, debating, making suggestions. But the Security Council, it has teeth, real power. It's this small, exclusive club that can make decisions that everyone has to follow, they can impose sanctions, and they can even authorize the use of military force. 2 very different kinds of power.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Even within this small 15-member council, the power isn't spread around equally. Not at all. You've got 10 non-permanent members. That's 2/3 of the group, and they're elected for 2-year terms. But the real power, well, that lies with the other 5, a very special group of countries that hold their seats permanently.
And that brings us to the famous, or maybe infamous, veto power. See, those 5 permanent members have a power that is totally unique and absolutely final. A single no vote from just one of them can kill any resolution, completely dead in its tracks. It doesn't matter if the other 14 members all say yes. It's, without a doubt, the most significant and probably the most controversial power in the entire UN system.
Okay, let's step away from the big political stage for a minute. It's time to go behind the scenes and look at the organs that do the huge, day-to-day work of the UN. This is the engine room.
First up here is ECOSOC, the Economic and Social Council. You can think of this as the central hub for all of the UN's massive humanitarian work. It's kind of like the project manager for dozens of agencies that you've definitely heard of, like the World Health Organization or UNESCO. Its whole job is to push forward on everything from sustainable development and environmental issues to promoting human rights.
So, if ECOSOC is the hub, then the Secretariat is the actual engine that makes the whole thing run. This is the UN's global staff. We're talking tens of thousands of international civil servants, all led by the Secretary General. These are the people on the ground, the translators, the researchers, the aid workers, the peacekeepers. They're the ones handling the daily grind that makes everything else even possible. All right, we're at our final stop now. And here, we're looking at 2 very different, very specialized organs. One is all about the law between nations, and the other is basically a piece of UN history now.
So, here's a thought-provoking question for you. We all know there are courts for people, right? And courts for companies. But what happens when one country wants to sue another country? Where do they go to sort things out peacefully?
Well, the answer is right here, the International Court of Justice, or the ICJ. A lot of people just call it the World Court. It's based in The Hague, and its whole purpose is to be the judge in legal fights between countries. Things like border disputes or disagreements over treaties, that kind of stuff.
And last but not least, we have a really unique one, an organ that was designed to succeed by putting itself out of a job. the Trusteeship Council. It was set up after World War II with a very specific mission: to help 11 former colonies get on their feet and move towards independence. And you know what? It worked so well that in 1994, when the very last territory, Palau, became independent, the council just suspended its operations. Mission accomplished.
Okay, so there you have it. We've toured all 6 organs: the big political stage, the global workforce, the world's court, and even the one that finished its job. So now, let's zoom out a bit and see how all these different pieces are actually designed to fit together and work as one single system.
And you can really see how this is all supposed to connect. Let's just walk through a quick example. Imagine a humanitarian crisis pops up. Step 1, it gets debated in the General Assembly. That could lead to Step 2. The Security Council authorizes a peacekeeping mission. Then, Step 3, ECOSOC and the Secretariat get to work implementing aid programs on the ground. And finally, if a legal dispute over a border comes up because of all this, Step 4, the ICJ can step in to help settle it. See? A coordinated response? And this whole process, this entire 6-part machine we've just looked at, it all comes back to that original, powerful promise from the UN Charter. It's a system that was fundamentally designed to move us toward a world with more peace, more justice, and just a better quality of life for everybody.
So, there you have it. That's the UN's foundational blueprint, that 6-organ framework that's supposed to guide global governance. But understanding this design, I think, leaves us with a really big, critical question for today. Is a structure that was designed way back in 1945 still the right tool to tackle the incredibly complex challenges we face in the 21st century? That's something to think about.